This video is sort of a love letter to No More Heroes, with no real rhyme or reason behind it, but I hope you can still enjoy it. Now, I love No More Heroes. It's a series that takes elements of everything I'd ever possibly want in a video game and just brutally mashes it all together. The result sometimes isn't pretty, but I enjoy everything about it. Suda 51 never striked me as a man of finesse, nor does he ever seem to be attempting to beautifully capture a game in a complete package, like, say, Journey or Child of Eden. And yeah, maybe I should update my references a bit. Instead, he's anti-art, rejecting what a video game should be and exploring his own narratives and style. I mean, No More Heroes, the name is taken from a post-punk band, The Stranglers, their second album title. And much like punk or post-punk bands, they did their own thing in lieu of the standard rock artists of the 70s before them. Okay, so yeah, No More Heroes is drenched in punk elements and sediments. That's sort of the motto of Suda and his team at Grasshopper. But it takes all sorts of pop culture references that, well, the typical otaku or nerd audience would love. Japanese pro wrestling, magical girl and mecha anime, Heavenly Star, talking cats, references to anime like Akira and to movies like Star Wars. Sure, the series is poking fun at what its typical fanbase would enjoy, but it's never insulting, unlike a certain other example. With the release of 1, 2, and Travis Strikes Again, and, well, the upcoming 3, there are plenty of references to both mainstream and rather obscure media. But more importantly, it has Suda's own bizarre spin that creates something entirely original. Travis Touchdown, a rather American-sounding name, lives in a rather American-looking city Santa destroyed. His personality is a mix of the typical nerd and, well, quite the badass. It's a stark contrast that seems to work. I mean, one of the first lines uttered in the series is "Fuckhead!" And that perfectly captures the ongoing assault of vulgarities and violence that has made it a very memorable series. So yeah, he's an assassin who really just wants the beautiful Sylvia, an agent of the Assassination League, who basically just strings him along. 10 other assassins stand in Travis's way to reach the top, so the majority of the game is spent on hunting down these assassins, each wackier than the previous. All sorts of references, like to Clint Eastwood's Dirty Harry movie, Mother Brain, perhaps? Destroy Man, an asshole superhero with homages to Kamen Rider and Street Fighter. Then there are odd references like Harvey to Chris Angel. Bad Girl is one of the more memorable characters. It's the pink outfit and blonde hair, I suppose, and her beer drinking. Uses a bat to smack around defenseless people. My favorite of the assassins you'll fight in the first game is Shinobu, though. People claim she's a reference to Afro Samurai. Remember that show? But it's just a fun fight in my opinion, and I just really like her design. Not to mention she appears in each of the other games, so it makes her a more familiar face. There's Henry, Travis's half-brother. He's a fan favorite. Maybe it's the Irish accent, but he's a pain to fight. And then there's Travis's sister, the final assassin, Jean, who has a pretty messed up backstory that is comically sped up in-game, but can be listened to slowed down online. The first one has its flaws, of course. It's ugly and jagged, but this is a game that's all about style over graphics. If you have a special device like the M cable, it does help to clean up the game a bit when playing on an HD TV, at least. The lifeless city of Santa Destroy is not like Grand Theft Auto. It doesn't offer much aside from going to a few different shops, some side jobs, and you'll find random items. Those side jobs are pretty bad though, aren't they? Unfortunately, they are necessary to advance in the game, as you need a certain amount of cash to unlock the next ranked fight. Though there are other side missions available too. Luckily, they are improved immensely in the second one. Now that we got what I don't like out of the way, everything else about No More Heroes is amazing. The way the Wii remote controller is implemented is juvenile but hilarious. The way you have to charge up Travis's lightsaber, beam katana, that he won on an online auction. Action is overstimulated hack and slash. It's not fast-paced, but instead relies on mashing the A button and finishing off your enemies by swinging the Wii remote. There's lots of blood. It's awesome stuff. Slot machine mechanics determine a limited timed power-up, like faster kills or getting Super Saiyan-like powers. A lot of these same power-ups return in Part 2. And the series has a lot of references to tigers, lots of designs relating to tigers, enemies with tiger references. A lot of the wrestling moves Travis learns are based on Japanese pro wrestler Tiger Mask's moveset. The same Tiger Mask that also influenced King in Tekken. The game isn't just pure mindless hack and slash though. There are nice little details too, like the way you can use the Wii remote itself to hear Sylvia's phone conversations, and of course playing with your pet cat, Jean. These side missions require you to kill a specific target or targets, most of these focused around the Pizza Corporation as they attempt to move into Santa Destroy to become a monopoly, but Travis, he's an independent type of dude and doesn't like the big corporations taking over. There is a lot of uniqueness in this game, but is it a masterpiece? Perhaps the first reviews for these games wouldn't agree with that, but for others it certainly is a cult classic. My favorite aspect of any video game is the soundtrack, and the one in this game is an absolute gem. Not just because of Genki Rocket's Heavenly Star, but the mesh of punk and electronica sounds. It creates something unique. Masafumi Takada composed something rather alternative, but it has a consistent feel throughout the entirety of the game. The main theme reappears several times, but in different variants. Though I have to say Bad Girl's theme, Pleather for Breakfast, is perhaps the most memorable in my opinion. Although originally released on the Nintendo Wii, it was ported later on with some major differences to the PlayStation 3 and even on the 360 in Japan. I've never played them. The HD ports released not too long ago helps to make a better experience, I think. It cleans up the rather pixelated visuals, but it gets rid of Heavenly Star, perhaps because of licensing issues, which is pretty sad. Also, you can use traditional controls, which was pretty mind-blowing to me when I heard about that because I was so used to swinging around the Wii remote, which of course some people love or hate. There's not much in between. It was an odd 2007 release exclusively on Nintendo's Wii, and I always hated the idea of people saying Nintendo was always a kid-friendly company. I mean, the GameCube had a lot of great, mature games on it, and the Wii not only had this Ultra M-rated exclusive, but also Mad World, which is similar in terms of style and gameplay, and that's a game that will never see the light of day today.
That fucker's looking a little bushed.
Wii itself also had a ton of so-called hidden gems, like The Last Story and Fragile Dreams, a lot of stylish and unique games that are pretty much forever banished to the Wii. Now we move on to the second one, Desperate Struggle. And this one, we are 3 years into the future. Travis is now 30 years old, and, well, he's still killing for a living. Though now he is far downranked that many people don't even care for his great exploits in the previous game. But tragedy strikes, and Travis is now out for revenge. Those pizza employees you were killing in the first game, well, now the big wig, Jasper Jr., is out for revenge and kills Travis's best friend, Bishop. But the only way to get revenge is to work his way to the top of the assassin's list to find his target. Sylvia returns as a helpful motivator, and there is a bit of a more love interest in this one. Henry and Shinobu also make an appearance. You even get to briefly play as both. So yeah, the first game is strange, but Desperate Struggle somehow manages to be even stranger. The assassins and enemies are absurd even for Suda 51. 2 Destroy Mans this time around, a jock football player and his horde of cheerleaders that battle in a giant mecha. There's an optional fight against a schoolgirl, Kimmy Howell, and it's just an odd experience. Henry has an interesting role in this game, and at one point he even has a nightmare where he dreams of Mimi and fights her. You see, a magical girl and mecha hybrid. And this was well before those Kantai anime. Travis loves mechs and magical girl anime, pure white lover, bizarre jelly. Yeah, perhaps a joke towards all those ridiculous English named anime out there. Actually, you can play a shoot 'em up version of that anime in this game, and it's pretty good too. And now that I think about it, the Wii had a lot of great shoot 'em ups, though it isn't really known for it, and I wonder why. As Shinobu, you can fight Million Gunman. I love her gameplay, it's much different from Travis's, but the fight is annoying as this guy just keeps running around, and he reminds me a bit of Revolver Ocelot, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised as other people felt the same way. And the fact that he has the same voice actor as Campbell from Metal Gear Solid is perhaps no coincidence. The final boss, Jasper Bat Jr., the CEO, is, well, I hated it, but I also loved it at the same time. 1. The Titanium Bat theme for the second form is one of my absolute favorite pieces of music ever, not just limited to video games. And 2, well, I love a good challenge. Margaret Moonlight is a pretty cool battle too. The gothic Lolita has this huge sniper rifle and it changes up the battle formula. The use of the Pro Controller as opposed to solely just a Wii remote was a pretty big change, and I don't mind it either. It makes dodging easier, for example, and you can just flick the joystick in the direction on screen to execute a finisher and wrestling move. The dual beam katanas this time around is a nice upgrade. Naomi, she's also in the first one, is like Travis's Lucius Fox, providing all the gadgets for him. The premise though is pretty much the same. You kill hordes of enemies before challenging the ranked assassin. The boss battles do feel a lot more varied this time around. Charlie McDonald has the giant mecha, Matt Helms fights in a haunted house, and this battle absolutely sucks. You have to time counters perfectly. Jasper, he has 3 stages, but like I said before, that second stage is brutal. The side jobs have been completely overhauled. Now they're fun 8-bit like minigames. Some puzzle based, while others are like this weird cooking minigame, which reminds me of Misadventures of Tron Bonne. The overworld though is gone. Now you just select where you want to go, which I actually like a lot more. Part 3 will go back to the open world formula, but I'm sure it's been giving a lot more life this time around. It fixes all the problems I had with the previous one, and it's even more bizarre and hilarious, and, well, it has a better soundtrack, so what isn't there to love? The soundtrack is much more diverse this time around. Masafumi Takada is not the sole composer, instead it's a bunch of artists, they're all thrown together, and the result is, well, actually one of the greatest soundtracks ever. It's like Gorillaz' first album. You have some hip-hop, some funk, punk, electronica, pop, trance, and so on. It's a fun and wild OST that perfectly reflects the game. Some of the more punk-heavy tracks, like the aforementioned Titanium Bat, are just great for boss battles. And well, for a few years we didn't hear much about No More Heroes. Suda 51 was working on other games, but once the Switch came around, he was there the day the Switch was revealed, so it was pretty obvious that he was working on No More Heroes, but no one expected the third release to be Travis Strikes Again. This game is a love letter to indie games, and it's obvious from the scaled down gameplay and visuals. Story-wise, this time around, it's way into the future. Travis is living in a trailer away from Santa Destroy, but now in Texas. He's eventually hunted down by Bad Girl's father. You know, Bad Girl from the first one. Well, he's out for revenge. and he finds Travis, but Travis, being the odd otaku, has a bizarre vintage gaming system that is haunted. So the two are sucked into these different game worlds where they battle in various types of game modes to collect death balls. It's kind of like Dragon Ball, you collect all these and they grant whatever wish you desire. So the two decide to work together to collect them all to wish Batgirl back to life. And Jean returns as well, but this time as a wise, cracking cat, which is pretty funny. The gameplay is not a typical hack and slash, but rather sometimes it's a beat 'em up and then transforms into some bizarre, strange puzzle racer to more puzzle platforming. There's a lot of different types of gameplay going on. There are power-ups which can be changed and swapped, and even two-player gameplay. For a game much smaller in scale, it actually has a lot more going on, and a lot more lore to explore than the previous games, thanks in part to the DOS-like visual novel elements in each chapter. But yeah, as a love letter to indie games, there are a lot of indie game referenced here, mainly in the form of the different t-shirts you can buy and wear, from Hotline Miami, Ruiner, Shovel Knight, Dead Cells, Superhot, Thumper, Valhalla, a lot of amazing games included here. But also Zelda and Jet Set Radio. There are also callbacks to Suda51's other games. Killer 7, for example, has a pretty big role in this game. Characters and style is introduced in the opening. Flower, Sun and Rain, Silver Case, Killer is Dead, and they all get references. These different worlds you travel through are hit or miss though. For example, I really love the Life is Destroy area, and that opening is just fantastic.
Why aren't you dead?
Whereas the Coffee and Donuts game can be quite tedious with all the backtracking and platforming that at times feels wonky. Enemy designs are much more diverse than the generic humans you'd just slaughter in the first two games. Well, because you are in these game worlds, so of course they're more unique. A lot of sheep enemies. Spoilers, Batgirl is playable as well as Shinobu, so those are a nice bonus. There's even an 8-bit version of Pleather for Breakfast. This game didn't really get a lot of love at first, and at the time of release, people didn't care so much about No More Heroes. It wasn't until 3's trailer when I'd say people actually started giving this game another chance and enjoyed it for what it is. One really cool element I love are the different power-up mechanics, and well, they're all references to some sort of Gundam. So yeah, we have Shining, we have Turn A, and so on. It's just a cool little nod. The soundtrack, this one is heavily electronic, dropping most other genre styles, though there is some hip-hop along the way, a lot of chill beats. The ramen theme is pretty nice though. It's a throwback to a 60s or 70s Japanese movie theme. We have reverted back to a sole composer role, this time with DJ Kazuhiro. And really, each game has a very unique and original soundtrack. You can't go wrong with any of them. Travis was added as a Mii character to Smash Bros. Ultimate, which is disappointing. He was my most wanted character for the Wii U Smash Bros. And Ultimate, but alas, simply just a Mii costume. He's also in a Dragon's Dogma game for Switch. Also, one of the weirdest pre-order bonuses I can think of, toilet paper, but only in Japan. Well, 3's release is on the horizon, and I will probably love it, whether it's good or bad, because I'm the type of person who loved Shenmue 3 just because I was looking forward to it for so long. I have too much faith and respect in Suda51 not to find something to enjoy with this. The gameplay looks like a nice hybrid of all three games, even using Travis' Strikes Again to power up chips. The music sounds promising. The graphics, well, people were worried at first, but recent trailer and gameplay footage actually shows that it's looking pretty good. Batgirl, Shinobu, Henry, they all look to be playable at times. Jean is fat again and has a dude's voice. Sylvia returns, Destroy Man as well, making him the most reoccurring villain. Oh yeah, even Kimi Howl returns. And that whole alien aspect, it makes the series seem as though this might be the true finale. I mean, how do you go any further than fighting aliens? Any future game would feel like a step back. It's not a series that will ever get the attention it really deserves, but the Switch treatment has given a lot of underappreciated titles more attention. For example, a lot of hype for Shin Megami Tensei 5, but there also seems to be a good amount of hype for No More Heroes 3 as well.